Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for today's edition of HR Mentorship Learnings. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and tonight the topic we're looking at is building trust and cohesion in multi-generational workforces. I'm excited to have another timer on this prestigious platform my name is Faith, and I is a strategy and leadership professional with over 5 years of experience working across the United Kingdom and Nigeria. Our work spans public, private, and social sectors. Began our career collaborating with the Nigerian federal government to strengthen STEM supporting victims of domestic violence and human trafficking before advising businesses expanding into key African markets on growth strategy and navigating complex operating environments. She currently works at the Ford Institute, where she partners, with senior leaders across Europe to define responsible leadership within their context and drive systematic change across their organization. She co-develops bespoke leadership culture programs for C-suite executives, shaping strategies that embed responsible leadership into the corporate decision-making and long-term goal. She also serves as the executive director and lead consultant at Girl Lead Talent Accelerator, which she has led for the last 3 years. Under her leadership, the organization has expanded its team across 6 countries, has strengthened its operations while building a thriving community of over 3,000 women and girls in STEM, leadership, and entrepreneurship. Our work is rooted in strategy, culture, transformation, and building systems that enable sustainable impact at scale. She has a first degree in French language and literature and master's degree in international business and strategy management. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking to us today on the topic building trust and cohesion in multi-generational workforces, please let's welcome Faith Donwa. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Luyemi. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Luyemi, for the opportunity to do this and to share my knowledge with the HR mentorship community. It's lovely to be here. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone has had a lovely weekend so far. I'm just going to go into it just because of time. And yeah, I really hope that we enjoyed the session. So the topic for this session, like Mr. Oluyemi said, and the slide says, building trust and cohesion in multi-generational workforces. The goal of today, so the goal of today's session, three main objectives is to fundamentally build an understanding of generations. When we're speaking about generations, what exactly are we talking about? And then beyond that, we're going to think of multiple ways we can see people beyond their generational classes, and we'll touch on why that is important. And then after that, we are now then going to touch on practices and mindsets that are required to build cohesion and trust in multi-generational teams. Now, before we go into this, just a bit of context about me and why this is important. So, like Mr. Oluyemi said in my bio, I do two different things. My impact role, which is under which I'm doing this presentation, is I lead a charity for working with young women across Africa. However, my 9 to 5 job is working with a leadership consulting firm in London called Forward Institute. And one of the things that we have done in the past year is work with companies from different sectors, charity, public, private, to think about, now that you have 4 different generations in your workforce, how do you get everyone to get along with one another? And so we did this work a couple months back with about 20 to 24 companies over the course of 7 to 8 months. And it was the research, the findings from that. And we also went on to partner with some of these companies post that project. So it's the research, the findings, the knowledge from that I'll be sharing during today's session. So the first things first, I think it's kind of important for us to think about is fundamentally when we speak about generations, what are we talking about? Now, a generation of people is essentially a group of individuals that are living with common knowledge and experiences that affect their thoughts, theory, values, and beliefs and behaviors. Now, this is the case because of, so there are multiple theories that people have populated in the past to explain why this is the case. Why is it that just because you are born in the same era, you automatically have the same beliefs? Now, there's a theory called the generational cohort theory that says people who are born close to each other, because they go through the same history, the same social and cultural experiences during their formative years, especially in the first 20 years of their life, they are more likely to sort of look alike, for lack of better terms. Now, these experiences will shape how you think, how your personality, how you perceive things, how you read things, how you interpret experiences. So, for example, people born around 1914 to 1918 experience the First World War. People born in 46 to 54 who experienced the Second War together. People who were born around 1955, between 55 to 63, where a lot of African countries started getting their independence also as well. They experienced that together. People born in the early 90s when I think 2003, when Obasanjo brought phones to Nigeria. People who experienced Nigerian civil wars together, the oil boom, the change from one military leader to another. People who, if we even go back a bit, experienced the amalgamation of Nigeria. Although they might be really, really old now, they share similarities. They share a similar way of thinking because they have gone through certain experiences in their formative years together. Now, if you think of that as generations, what does then a multi-generational workforce look like? And this is important because essentially, if you say a generation is a group of people that think alike, that means in a workforce you have multiple groups of people who think alike. So there are different ways of thinking, but there are clusters of different ways of thinking in your workforce. That's what we talk about. That's what we think about when we talk about multi-generational workforces. Essentially, employees from different generations, different cohorts, different ways of thinking and translating things in their mind coming together to form your workforce. Now, let's meet the generations. We've got 5 different generations, and actually we have also 6 Gen Alpha, but I didn't put them here on this slide. I'm not going to dwell so much on the slide, on the differences in this cohort, just because I think for me that is reiterating one of the problems we have when we speak about multi-generational workforces, which is that we are constantly looking at through a dividing lens. But just something to set some sort of foundation around the thinking around how people see generations. When we talk of generations, specifically, what do we mean? So when people think and speak of generations, they are talking essentially about 5 different groups of people. So the silent generation, the baby boomers, the Gen X, the millennials, and the Gen Z. So the silent generation are people who are born between 1928 to 45, people who are around 81 to 98 years old. Baby boomers, people born from 46 to 64, who are around 62 to 80 years old. Now, with these 2 generations, they have experienced a lot of things that have made them believe that work is a privilege, experience, prefer structured, formal conversations, prefer institutional memory. They value stability, structure, and long-term commitment. They believe that work is something that's a privilege, should be earned, and they have, because of their length of experience in the workforce, contributed greatly, not just to themselves, but to the organization, the work with the industry, and also people who have come after them. Now, with the Gen X, where you see people born from 65 to 98, you see people who are I think more fluid is the word that I will use. People who experience labor market reforms, who experience economic shifts, who value work-life balance, most likely because these people are at the age whereby they're having kids. So they have to balance work, life, stuff like that. They're having growing kids, not specifically just kids, they're having growing kids. Millennials also quite fluid, technology driven, love collaboration, feedback, transparency, on the move. They are more likely to change jobs in pursuit of fulfillment. Now, the Gen Z, people call them digital natives. I think some people say these are people who grew up on the screen, who grew up on the internet. Basically, these most of them. Some of them had their academic experience halted or changed rapidly by COVID-19. So you can imagine what that looks like. People who prefer flatter hierarchy, instant communication, they focus on skills, experience, flexibility, other than the traditional structural formal way of communication and working around. Now, it'd be interesting for you, maybe after today's session, to just think of, that's interesting, what generation am I actually in? Do I look like the people they say that I'm my generation, or is something different? Now, it's important to think about why we're having this conversation, because to some people, this is not a problem. We don't have a problem. Yes, three generations, four cohorts have existed before. The generation before the silent generation worked, or rather lived, or maybe they lived in villages together, they collaborated with these people. Why are we suddenly having a faff about this? Now, to take our eyes off a bit and zoom out, there are things that are currently happening. One is we are projected to get to 10 billion people as a global population by 2050. We're currently at 8.3 billion. So that means we're about to be more. That's one. Two, whatever was the predominant workforce generation in times past is currently shifting, because globally millennials represent the largest cohort of the workforce. They contribute about 19 to 21% of employees worldwide. Now in Nigeria, we have, so first of all, Africa has a larger, younger population than the rest of the world. Europe, America, the Americas, Asia, etc. In Nigeria, young people make a significant portion of our labor force. If you combine millennials, Gen Z, and then the upcoming Gen Alpha, we're talking about 85% at least of our workforce are young people. So we have to get along. We are stuck with each other. We have to get along. We have to find a way to work with each other, to understand each other, because more people are coming. And whether we like it or not, that is a sign of constant change. And one of the things with constant change is we have to sort of figure out, how do we make this work for us? Now, if you think of the impact of having this conversation, of why is it important for all of us to get along, fundamentally is because we are in an age where we are super connected. So we're like in the internet age where things are happening differently, where something is happening in South Korea and somebody in Nigeria is seeing it. So that is one of the things that's influencing how young people are working together. Now, aside that, on a different level, let's think about impact. What is the impact? One is innovation and creativity. We say in the market space, either you innovate or you die out. Businesses have to constantly think up new ideas, new systems, new ways of working. There's no other option, because we are constantly in competition with one another. To stay on top of our game, to keep our work valuable, there has to be constant creativity in the room. However, if you have a workforce of people that do not get along, or a situation whereby some people keep their mouths shut and they do not contribute to the ideas that are coming to the table, to the products that are being made, to the ads that are being sent out, to the whatever it is, you are not innovating at the level that you should be. That means there's not enough creativity in the room. There's not enough innovation in the room. If that's happening, you are not making good decisions. You're not making good decisions at all, which leads me to the next point, which is better decision making. If I, as a CEO, have a decision to make, I don't know how other people make decisions in their company, but usually there are some decisions where you bring it to the team to say, what are we thinking? This is what I want to do. If five different people are able to give you their inputs based on, again, remember, generations, common experiences, what they've seen, what they've heard, what they learned, what they know. If they are able to bring multiple perspectives from their experiences, it enriches the decisions that we're making. However, if it's a situation whereby we are not getting along, people usually shut their mouth. So when we're not getting along, it's manifest in different ways in different cultures. In the Nigerian culture, people just keep quiet and say yes, sir. And so when that happens, you're not getting the wealth of experience or richness of ideology or thinking you're supposed to get, and you don't make decisions at the level you're supposed to make them. Another thing is, which is a proof of these two things, psychological safety. Psychological safety is usually a big word to some people. They don't want to get in it because it's kind of EDI, because it feels mushy-wushy. It's technically just saying you and I, we have created a space whereby we understand each other, we value each other. I am able to do my work the way that I am. I mean, to a certain reasonable degree. If you don't have good psychological safety in team, again, nothing will be moving well. You think everything is moving, but it's actually not moving. If there's no psychological safety, there's also no team alignment, because you and I are not on the same page on where we are going. Because I have not been honest enough to tell you, I don't understand where we are going, because I don't feel safe enough in this environment. If I'm not feeling safe enough to tell you, I don't know where we are going, I cannot contribute to the ideas on the path of where we are going, and we cannot make good decisions. So you can begin to see how those, first of all, three things are linked together, and they impact your work, because you are leaving money on the table. You are leaving money on the table because ideas that you should be creating, you cannot create them because you're not tapping into it. There's no team alignment. So time that you will use to go out and get stuff done, you are fighting inside on tiny little things because there's no alignment, and you are not getting to the root of the matter, which is that we are not getting along across different generations because I think you are lazy, you think I'm too strict, we're just clashing heads, and then time we're supposed to be spending making money, we are fighting and HR is getting involved. So that's some of the impacts that why we need to have this conversation is important. Another reason is knowledge transfer and increase. So sometimes when we talk about knowledge transfer, people automatically think that, oh yes, older people share their knowledge with younger people because they know more stuff. Well, that's true. If you are an older person, there are more chances that you spend a lot more time in the workforce. You have a lot more professional experience. But we are in the age and time also where the internet age is a lot of the internet. So think of it as Punch Sunday newspaper meets somebody who gives you an 8 minute summary on TikTok of what's happening in Nigeria. When those two people merge, there is a knowledge transfer because the way Punch communicates is different from the way TikTok communicates. We can argue of whether it's the right academic knowledge level, blah, 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 all those kind of things later. But fundamentally, when those two people come together, knowledge is happening. There is knowledge in those two people. Now, when I open my mouth, let's say I'm coming with Punch newspaper Sunday, and then you open your mouth, you're coming with the TikTok version. We are exchanging knowledge. So you are transferring to me and I'm transferring to you. When we both leave that conversation, my knowledge has increased just as your knowledge has increased. But again, that can't happen if you don't have trust and cohesion in your multi-generational workforce. Another thing that is in impact when we get it right is interpersonal skills development. Now, when you are able to manage, lead, or even be part of successfully a team that is from different generations, one thing that happens is that your brain learns or adapts to different ways of communications fundamentally. So that means your communication skills is decreasing because you know that speaking to somebody who maybe comes from a different generational cohort from you is different from the next person who comes from a different generational cohort that is not even yours or that person. You know, first of all, the ability for your brain to easily match constantly that the way I speak to this person has to be different from the way I speak to this person just because they have different experiences and you understand things at different level. It sharpens your brain. Every time you apply that, let's say practicality, this person prefers emails, this person prefers Teams. Anytime you apply that, your brain is going sharper and stronger. It also increases your level of adaptability because that means you are able to pinpoint what is right for each situation and apply it. Another thing is leadership skills. If you are able to lead a team successfully of people who think differently, who experience things differently, who see things differently, your ability to thrive in the uncertain, it grows and it strengthens it. Your ability to also solve conflict, resolve conflict, because part of conflict resolution is looking at things from multiple perspectives and shedding light on, okay, let's think about that. Let's think about that. So these are skills you are also developing. So your communication skills, your leadership skills, your creativity, because you're also tapping into the experience of different cultures, different experiences in your team. So these are the things that if we get right, this is what happens for us, and it also increases our financial output, the wealth of our team, the health of our team, and also the strength of the work that we are doing, which is the reason why we are all gathered here today. However, some people, there's a question on the table as to what if we saw people differently? Now, we have this thing where we see people through generations, and that's good for us because we have it's a bias. There's a thing where our brains tend to attach quickly to easiest ways to do things just to make life easier for us. So, for example, when people say all X people are Y, they behave like Y. Our brain has created our pathway to make it easier for us to make decisions, and biases are helpful to make us decisions faster. However, what if they are stopping us from seeing the bigger picture, from seeing things in a more creative way? Some people have argued that the generations conversation is kind of a limited way to see workforces. They've argued that, if anything, if you look closely, workforces are actually more alike than they are different. They've also argued that because we look at people through generations, we are not getting the wealth of the work done, and we're just scraping the surface of how to meet people where their needs are. So there are many different ways where people have said, okay, instead of saying people according to generational lines, age lines, why don't we try something different? Now there are two different ways which they have recommended. One is life stages. There is the idea that beyond looking at people from their age, why don't we look at where they are currently in life? Now, this I picked this quote from a McKinsey article, I think from 2 years ago, last year, where they argue that life stages provide a deeper context to needs and motivations and generations. If you are able to look at the employees and what it is that they need and their work experience through the nuances of how they want compensation, how they want value, why they want these things, what has happened to them, where are they currently in their life that makes them so drawn towards these things, you shift the narrative and the conversation, and you are able to meet them at their needs at a better place, because you are doing things based on their life stages, their personal circumstances, individual preferences, which is a much more deeper level than just a number, which is their age. Now, I put this here as an example. Some people might say, oh, these are outliers, these are a stretch, but I think I want you to think about it and think about your current work experience to say, actually, are there people in my office? Are there people that I work with or that I know in life who people say, for example, all silent generation should be XYZ, or all boomers should be XYZ, or all millennials should be XYZ. But actually, I know three different millennials and there are three different stages of their life. So they probably want three different things from their employers. So, for example, the baby boomers, we have ideally, most of these people are thinking of retirement or about to get to retirement. However, I was listening to, I think it was Bishop Funke Adejumo the other day, and she's talking about how she went back to school to get a law degree. So already she's not having the same, if she was having a 9 to 5, her employer would not be looking at her as the same person as other people in her generation because she's doing an undergraduate degree. That probably means she has less time on her hands. That probably means a couple more other things. So when you look at that, you start to think, oh, that definitely means somebody will want something different from what we usually think other baby boomers may want. Now, think of the millennial examples. Millennials are people who, let's say they are, if I remember correctly from this slide, who are born in 81 to 96. So they are 30 to 45 years old. Now, 30 to 45 years old, everybody's thinking you should have your children, you should be married, all those kind of things, which is our normal way of judging people. However, what if you have three different employees? One is a recent graduate, one is a manager who is single, and one is somebody with a PhD and two children under 10. These three people are in three different life stages of their life. They have three different level of experiences. They have different focuses. They have different interests. They are all the same age. Let's say they are all 33 or they are all 35, but they want different things. Without a doubt, I have a child. If I have a child, I'm very sure that my interest is very different from somebody who has to parent only themselves. If I'm a recent graduate, I promise you that what I am thinking of is not the same thing as somebody who has two children on that end is thinking of. So our values are different. What we want will be different. Now, this is one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is values. Now, most people have done the research, they found out that yes, generations sort of react in different ways to different things. But fundamentally, when you strip all that content away, there are core things that people want from their employers. There are core things people are saying, you got to give this to me as your staff. You don't give this to me, I'm out the door. I'm looking for how to get out the door. Now, there are two things that are not stated clearly here, but before we go into them, I just want to be clear that there are two things that are important as well, which is money and flexible working. Money, we all go to work for money. People are going to wake up tomorrow morning by 7 a.m., not because you're in love with your job, but because you need money. So we all need money. That's why one of the reasons why we work. However, other theories that people have said, these are things employees are looking for. There's loose language around it. You read most of the papers, they use different terminologies. But in my research, putting all together, I see that the four different things they want are value, growth, meaningful work, and positive work culture. Now, everybody wants to be valued in our own personal lives, from our loved ones, from our parents, from our children, from our spouses, whatever. We all want to be valued. The same thing goes for our work. Now, value for the silent generation person might translate different from value for the person who is Gen Z, but those two people want value. Somebody's value might be good morning, sir. Somebody's value might be a message on Slack. What do you think about this project? Two of them, when it comes down to it, all is value. However, they have decided, or rather, they have reasoned value to be two different things in their minds. Another thing is growth. If people don't so before I even go to growth, let's go to meaningful work. Meaningful work. So some of these quotes here are just to provide an explanation, are quotes from employees on these different four topics. I thought it was important to use them to bring to life what people are thinking. So value, recognizing and rewarding each other's efforts. I see your effort, I recognize it, I applaud it, I appreciate it through positive feedback, through public shout outs, whatever it is, or through thank you, as simple as thank you, as simple as increasing. Sometimes when people increase other people's salary, you think, oh, I'm just upping your salary. But to some people, that's value. That is the definition of you. That is you communicating to them as an employer that you value them. It's the foundation for creating a more human workforce because it re-emphasizes shared purpose and it gives people meaning through gratitude. Now, meaningful work. Meaningful work has become something that is actually more prevalent in this day and age, especially with the younger generation, where people say, I don't just want to make money. I want to do work that is important to me, work that I value, work that I can see the impacts in the world. And that's also important to a lot more people, not just the younger generation. Meaningful work emerges when my personal purpose meets your organizational clarity. So my purpose aligns with what it is that you're doing. So, for example, I work across organizations. I lead a charity that serves at least 3,000 women across Africa. And one of the things that brings my team together is we all believe that women and girls in Africa should be given the opportunity to build careers in tech. That is why we are there. The moment you stop believing that, you'll be out the door. You'll be looking for another job that aligns with your value. The same thing with my 9 to 5. We are there because we believe responsible leadership is the only leadership and working together to define what that means for leaders in Europe. The moment I look at it and I'm like, this responsible leadership is not giving me what I want to give me, I started looking for another work. So when my personal value aligns with what where the organization is going to, that is meaningful work. And too often, sometimes work feels empty, not because the task lacks value. I can see the financial value. The company is raking in millions annually, but because the connections impact is not just there to other people, to my strength, to what I believe is most important to me in this world. I'm not seeing it. So I'm making a lot of money. And this happens. People say, oh, is it possible for people to make? Yeah, it's possible for people to make money and feel I don't like this job. I don't want this job because I cannot clock the impact and the connection. Growth is also another thing. Growth, steady progression. Now, growth means I'm climbing the ladder. Now, for two different people again, because I'm trying to make people understand that if we strip away all the different terminologies and behaviors that we've used to explain different generations, at the core of it, you see some of these similarities. Growth for some people might be sitting in one place, in one job for 17 years and getting promoted every 2 years. Growth and loyalty because they believe growth comes from loyalty. Some people are like, every 2.5 years, let's go, let's go, let's go. Next one, let's move. Because growth for them is moving from one opportunity to another, taking risks. Those two people want growth. They just see it in two different ways. Some people see growth as when you are giving me constant L&D opportunities, you are traveling around the world, they are sending me your courses, this, that. Some people don't see that as growth. Some people don't think, oh, I don't want to go. Some people just want only the promotion. They just want only the promotion. Some people don't even want anything at all. They just want to be there. People want different things. People want growth, it materializes in different ways. Another thing is, because you can see the quotes there that said, I left my last job because I'd hit my ceiling. I was no longer learning or being challenged. Growth is also tied to the idea of my job constantly challenges me. It uses my brain. It's such a weird thing. You think people will be okay to just sit and making money, but people are not. They want to go, they want to be challenged, they want to use their brain. Another thing is positive work culture. So when we think of the extraordinary results we see in our jobs, they are not because of Einstein or because of a hero somewhere with a cape. They are built by design through cultures that trust people to think, that give people the right to think, the right to decide and execute without waiting for permission. Positive work culture, there are a lot of things that are inside there. For some people, strict formal A, B, C to Z is definition of public positive culture. For some people, the ability to come together and collaborate and say, we're changing this framework now because this framework does not align. I think we should change it. It's positive work culture. For some people, the ability to come in to the office only once a week, twice a week is positive work culture. For some people, positive work culture is I'm seeing you every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. That's the definition of positive work culture of them, because they believe being in the office, again, what we said, loyalty, commitment to the office, seeing you and there is how we are doing it. It's different. For some people, a lot of people it's different. For me personally, of course, flexible working has to be it. I can't remember the last time I had a job where I was going to the office 5 days a week. I don't even know what that is. So a lot of people have different definitions of what positive culture is, but the ability to be valued, to be respected, to be able to communicate, to question, to have structure, to have communication, to give feedback. These are all things that people share. So when you think about this thing, maybe it's time for you, talk about it in more as well, to look at your workforce and sort of rethink how you are seeing them beyond generational lines. Are there different ways you can also see them and see what it is that they want across these things? This was a research that I found. So PwC did a research across 6 different African countries, like Nigeria, Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, Kenya. So yes, Nigeria, South Africa, Morocco, Kenya, and Algeria. Last year, to think about what's the future of work, they had 1,753 respondents. Although 50% of those respondents were South Africans, but it was funny to see when they asked people, when you are looking for a new job, when you are thinking of a good job fit for you, how important is this thing? And they had different generations in the paper, and 85% said job security. I want to be able to know that I have this job, I can keep this job, a job that allows you to work with great. So you can see the habit of people that I'm working with is also important, which falls on that positive work culture. Job aligns with your personal values. The job promotes and rewards people who work well. So you can see opportunities to develop transferable skills, choice of how you work, support workers from less advantaged group. So you can see the alignment even across generations, because again, they had different generations and reports in this, and they had people from different African countries, and you can see the similarities to see that employees are really thinking beyond the generational cohort thing. They are also thinking along value lines. So considering that in your practices is one of the things that's going to be important. Now let's speak about mindset and practices. I split this into mindsets and practices because practices have to be built on the right mindset. If you have the wrong mindset or the wrong principles, whatever practices you ladder up on it will not work. If you just slap some of the practices on it with the wrong thinking faculties or with the wrong mindset towards it, they won't last 2 weeks. So what are some of the mindsets that I believe are important based on research, based on the work that we've done, based on what we've seen? Now, I should say that some of the things discussed here are also very relevant when you're building multicultural teams, or when you're building teams at all. When you're building high-performing teams, building trust amongst high-performing teams, there's some work that a couple of people have done over the years to think about high-performing teams. The Crystal Group is one of them. Think about trust, and then trust, thinking about reliability, benevolence, and all those kind of things. Trust is one fundamental element for any 2 or 3 people who are gathered to do work together. And so any type of team, these are pointers that are also very valuable for you. Now, I put respect, curiosity, continuous learning, and collaboration. I realize the font may not be so large. Apologies for that if you're unable to see. I'm happy to also share the slides post this conversation. One is respect. If we don't see one another and value one another, fundamentally because we are people, we will not be able to get anything done in a multicultural diverse team. If we are waiting for people to be our age mates, have our level of experience, or come from our same background before we respect them, we cannot build trust among people. We should be able to say in our organizations, provided you walk through that door and you and I are sharing the same cause, the same work cause, I would respect you. It don't matter whether you are the CEO, whether you're a janitor, whether you are an intern, whether you are the MD, provided you and I work in this office together, I would respect you. Respect is how you treat everyone, not just who you want to impress. If we do not respect one another, fundamentally just because we are people, we start to let our biases creep in. Age bias, religion bias, tribal, any type of bias that we have in this life, gender bias, all the biases, it will creep in and to erode any element of trust that you had in your team. Another thing is curiosity. So there's this thing of being curiosity and continuous learning are actually tied together, because the ability for you to have an open mind is one of the things that engineers your ability to constantly learn. When you meet people, we need to be curious about who they are and where they come from and how they work best and how I can work best with them. It is important because you are a team. You can build, there are some changes you can drive at organizational level if your organization is small, but there are some changes that are best driven at the team level, because when you do that across teams, it now starts to cut across all teams, and then you can now sit at organizational level. But to drive changes, you have to really break it down, and also break it down into smaller chunks of people to make it more effective and also time impactful. One of the things you have to build in your teams is curiosity. You have a new member, you're genuinely curious about them. What's your name? What do you do? How do you work best? In our teams, one of the things that we do when we form new project teams, how do you work best? So that I know how to work with you. I am genuinely curious about you. I'm not the center of my world. I don't have it all. I don't know your experience. I cannot judge you based on just by looking at you. If I am curious towards you, then I am more open towards learning more about you and how I can work better with you. So you can see how that in practice means that I will be looking for the best ways we can collaborate together so that we can get the work that is in front of us done. And I am not there thinking you have too much experience, you don't have enough experience. We're wasting time on things that do not concern us. Also, that links to continuous learning. We are in the age of AI and technology, and the world is rapidly changing. And a futurist said the truly illiterate of the 21st century will be those unable to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Our ability to tell ourselves that I don't know it all, and I would like to learn more, and see with curiosity and respect that we can learn from other people, regardless of their age, of their background, of their experience, is one of the driving forces of success for us on an individual and organizational level. Our ability to say, I am constantly learning every day. I mean, we see it before you look. It's just like, for example, on Instagram, when you open your app and then you scroll to three different things. By the time you go up and you drag it, there's new content. There's something new to learn about. There's something new to read about. Almost the same thing on LinkedIn. There's always something new. So that openness in mind, again, curiosity, and then the desire to just continuously learn about other people and other things that are happening in the world is one of the things that will open your mind to seeing more and seeing differently, and seeing how your colleagues do things, and seeing how people across generational lines, value lines, different life stages do things. I want to know best how to merge with that on a work level so that you can create the greatest impact for your organization and also for you. Because I don't think people feel good or people work well when you are constantly in conflict with one another. When there's sharp contention, you will not move forward. You'll be doing work and the work will not be going as well as it should, because you are just not at peace with the people you are working with. You are constantly fighting. You are constantly getting at each other. If you get to the crux of it, it's probably because somebody has made up their mind that this person, because they are in a different life stage, they are different to me, they are more knowledgeable than me, or they are not up to my level, all those kind of things. But if you say regardless, again, respect. I respect this person. I believe this person has something to offer. I want to learn what they have to offer, and then I'm opening my mind towards it. You have more chances at delivering impact. Another mindset is collaboration. I feel this is important for any type of team, again, to build trust, because you cannot trust somebody that you are competing with. You cannot move forward with somebody that you are competing with. And then if me and you are in the same team and we are competing, we have taken our eyes off the ball, the money that we're looking for and the impact we're looking for, we are putting it on each other. We have put it on each other. People around us who probably brought them into the competition. People are taking sides. I'm team this, I'm team that. They don't say it as kind of like company politics, all those things that happen on the sidelines that people don't actually say, but it's happening. And then it's getting in the way of the work we actually all come in to do at 9 a.m. every day, because we are competing. It is a world of collaboration. If you and I join hands together, we can do things twice as fast as what one person will do. So the mindset of we are collaborating to win, there is no I. It is not a competition. It is for the company. It is for our collective success. But if we have this mindset of it's me against you, we'll be against each other and we'll be losing money. So these are mindset that I believe that we should hold on to in building trust in any type of teams, including multi-generational teams. If you want success and you have people from 55 to 25 in your team and your organization, the ability to infuse respect in both their minds, in curiosity, continuous learning. How can I learn from this person? Because your inability to see that you need to learn from this person is one of the things that won't stop you from typing that Teams message to say, you said something last 2 weeks in the Teams meeting. I didn't understand it. Please, can you explain it? That kind of thing would also be helpful. Now, when you have this mindset in place, you can now ladder up on with practices. Now, there are a lot of practices listed here, and I'm also conscious of time. So I'm just going to try and go through it as best as I can. One is, so I broke them down into structure and activities. In your organization, in your structure, there has to be values. Now, everybody, it goes without saying, every company has values. However, there's a difference between putting your values on your organizational handbook and just leaving it there. Or some people take it a step further. They print it up, make it look nice, and then they put it on the wall in their offices on every floor. That's fine. Do you live those values? Do you bring it to life? Is there anything in those values that communicates the fact that everybody here is respected? Everybody here is valued. Everybody here is treated as a human being, regardless of their age, of their background, of their gender, of their experience, of their whatever that may be dividing us. Is there anything in that value that says that? Because if there's nothing in that value that says that, that's one error. Then that means whatever it is you are living in your organization does not communicate that whether you be 55 or you be 25, we value you. And then value is one of the things that will build trust. Because if I don't value you, I cannot trust you. If I do not see that you bring something valuable to the table, or you are a great addition to the team, or you have my back, I cannot trust you. So you can begin to see how elements of trust, broken and practicality, there are other things that need to be done to build up the trust that we are looking for and the cohesion. I cannot be like this with somebody that I do not value. Why? It's not possible, because you have nothing to offer me. I have told myself that you have nothing to offer me. So I cannot value. If I cannot value, I cannot trust you. So what are your values? Are you living your values? Are you bringing it to life? I see. So for example, in my company, there's one of our values, which is we care, and it is the strongest. And everybody is so protective about it to the extent that if you don't live those values, if you see that we don't live those values, I'm very sure there are some people that have not lived through their end of their probation. They'll just tell you, please carry your bag and be going. Because we have worked so hard to not just write these values on our wall, we have worked so hard to live out these values. It's something as small as when they say we care. So practical terms is there something that they do, which I find really funny, is if somebody wants to make tea. First of all, British people are tea drinkers. This year when I came here, I started drinking tea like water. They want to make tea and they will ask everybody, does anybody want tea? The office can be full of 20 people. If 20 people say yes, you will make that 20 cups of tea. Now, one of the things that you now see in care is somebody else is now noting that the tea order is getting a lot. You will now see about 2 to 3 people stand up to say, oh, I'll make it with you. And so you now have 3 people that are making teas and bringing for the entire company. That is care. I see everybody do it. I see my CEO, my MD, everybody. Even when I came, I know I'm in Nigeria, I don't drink tea. But I now have to start learning, oh, does anybody want tea? Or say, oh, 3 people, I want this, I want that. It's care, and they are living it out in practical terms. And everybody's a carrier of that value, not just people at the top. That brings me to my next point. When you have these values and you say, we want to value everybody at each level, is your leadership team on board as well? Are they aligned, or is HR just saying one thing, CEO is saying another thing, and then when we come out from that meeting, everybody say good job, well done, and we go our ways? So for example, if you do this work, for example, after this conversation, you say, oh, we really have this multi-generational workforce problem, we should probably get an external consultant, and you say, oh, let's bring Faith, or let's bring somebody, and they say, oh, to do this work for you, I would charge you maybe 500K or maybe 3 million. I'll charge you 3 million. And then we do the work over 18 months. After we are finished doing the work, let's say 2 weeks after, one of the things you now implement is project teams. So creating teams from different project teams from different core teams to just come together to work on stuff. And then somebody does the wrong thing. So let's say one of the teams, the Gen Z, does the wrong thing, and maybe the CEO is a Gen X or a millennial, whatever. And the CEO in rage as to the poor work performance just shouts in the office, this is why you people, Gen Z, you are not serious people. You blah, 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 breaks the laptop and go, pa. Everybody unfortunately hears that conversation. The next 3 or 4 days, the flip happens. Let's say the person in charge of that project team is a Gen Z, and then the person who they're supposed to do work was a millennial or Gen X, and the person does a poor job, maybe because they are going through something or something happened. And then the person says, these older people, you people are not tech savvy, one thing, pa, pa, pa. They break everything, and everybody hears those two conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you know that you have wasted your money, because the work that we have been doing for 18 months, two conversations have just reminded the entire organization that we do not trust each other across generational lines, that we see Gen Z as lazy and we see older people as unable to adapt technology. So you are just giving me free money and we have just wasted our time. Whatever is the value that we believe, if we want to build trust across people in the organization, across different age groups, generational lines, and life stages, we need to see the people at the top model that, communicate it all the way down to middle managers, and then we need to see middle managers reiterate that and shuffle it down. It is important because one of the things that we've realized is middle managers are linchpins in a lot of things, organizations, in strategy, in culture, in behavior, whatever it is. Joy will be happening on top. By the time it gets to middle manager, it becomes like a frozen lake. And so from middle manager to up is one experience, and then from middle managers to down is another experience. And so it is important for the people on top to bear it, to carry it, to use it in their language, and then also the middle managers to reiterate it and to shuffle it down. Another thing is you have to set clear roles, expectations, and responsibilities. We are less likely to get into trouble or misunderstandings if I understand where I'm shooting my ball and you understand where you're shooting your ball. The moment you start thinking you're using my goalpost and I start thinking I'm using your goalpost, there will be problem. If we now add the fact before that I do not even trust you, that I was not sure whether you had sense before because you just came out of university. By the time I see that, it confirms a bias that I already have, that younger people are less likely to have understanding of how the workplace works. Nobody told you that. They did not tell me what I'm supposed to be doing here. Because you see that kind of situation, two of us are probably on the same level for one reason or another, but management has not communicated, set what we are doing, what our responsibilities. So you are there using your bias to judge me. Me, I'm there feeling confused. And you see how the whole thing blows up. So tell people what they need to do, how they need to do what they need to do. If you are not sure, if you don't have clarity of roles, say you don't have clarity of roles. It's that simple. There is this thing where leadership fears to come out and look confused. You're not looking confused. It's called honesty. I don't know. When will I have clarity? I don't know. This is the clarity I can give you now. Why don't we all come together and see what we can do with this limited clarity that we have? That's one of the things that we can do. So make sure everybody knows where they are going to, what they are supposed to do. If you cannot provide clarity, give them the autonomy to go and provide the clarity for themselves and to decide the boundaries of their work and stop inhibiting the work. Another thing you need to do is data collection analysis. We've discussed generations. However, also discussed life stages, and we've also discussed values. There are tests that you can do on an organizational wide level, depending on how small and how large you are. And there are also tests that you can do to sort of see what are people thinking, what are their behaviors. There was this one we did recently, I think it was Gallup, I can't remember, but it spoke to our personalities and how we like to get work done. I learned a lot about myself. On a team level, we got together and we saw that, oh, you are more like this, I'm more like this, I'm more like this. That means if we're doing this thing, this is the best person to do this, and this is how this person does that. That also increases our sense of strength as well, which is something we'll talk about in activities, spotting and leveraging strength. These kind of tests and getting people to sort of collectively engage in this kind of data collection will be helpful for you to see the heat map of who you have in your organization. You stop seeing it according to age, but according to experience, according to interest, according to value, according to life stages. If you know, so for example, Girl Lead did this last year because we had some challenges. So Girl Lead is a 100% remote team with people who are in 6 different time zones. That is very chaotic. If you now add the fact that more than half the organization are volunteers. So we had to do a heat map to say, who are the people that actually constitute our workforce? You see that most people are parents, most people are students, most people work in this time zone. That means they like to do this. Most people are doctors, they are pharmacists. When you have that data, you start making richer decisions and implementing richer processes because you are seeing things differently, not just from a generational lens. Now, I'm going to run through quickly the practices and then we can look at some case studies. So one of the things that I think you must have realized now is to build trust and cohesion, you have to get people together. Whatever that looks like for your organization, be you people 50, be you 500, you have to find systems and processes to get people together. And I know for most organizations, it's challenging. When we did this work with most of the people, we found out one of the things we learned early is that there will be some pushback from senior leadership because in their head, you are coming to ask for more money, you're not giving them more money. HR is always the one asking for processes that require more money and more time, people to do more things. You're never bringing money. However, if you can create a clear business case for why these things are important, they would sign up for it. So you have to find opportunities. I just said that on the side so that it's important for people to know that linking this to a clear business case is one of the ways how you get some of these processes moving forward. Now, some of the activities you can get to bring people together to build trust. I cannot trust who I don't know. And so get people to know one another. You cannot do that on a 50 wide level. You can do that on a 10, 15, 17, 7 level. One of the things you can do is project kickoff. So I don't know how organizations are structured. Some organizations are really clear. People and operations only do work in people and operations. Product only does work in product. Marketing only does work in marketing and stuff like that. That works. However, sorry, excuse me, in some organizations, there are projects that start, and then it's not everybody in marketing that's on that project. So maybe 3 or 4 people in marketing come together with maybe one person from tech. They say the next 5 years or the next 5 months, we're going to work on this project together. I would recommend at the beginning of every project, when you come together for the first time, have a project kickoff call. Project kickoff call is a call where you say, it's not just, this is my name, this is my experience, this is my team. This is my name, this is my experience, how I like to work. This is when you cannot find me. This is the best thing about me. This is the worst thing about me. This is what I'm trying to learn. It creates a sense of, it gives more life to the person in front of me, and it gives me more ammo to trust this person. It also it puts more human to it and more vulnerability to it. There is an iota of vulnerability that needs to come into the equation. People are supposed to trust you because I can see the humanness in you. I can see the frailty in you. I can see that just like me, you are imperfect as well. And so I'm like, I'm now endeared towards you. And when I see you tomorrow, I will not even remember your team. I will just remember that you said you have a 5-year-old daughter that is always using your face to draw makeup. So that's why you probably have XYZ in your car, always on your bag, or your table always, because people always wonder, why do you have XYZ on your table always? That has endeared me to you. So project kickoff calls are one way to build cohesion among multi-generational teams, especially if you are particular and you draw the teams across different age groups. Another thing is manual of me. Some people in some organizations, because they are really small, what they do is that they will have this manual of me and they will put it up in their walls in their team offices. So when you come in, you see the person, you see what they like, what they don't like. Don't disturb me when I'm doing just humane stuff that brings the humanness to these things, that gets people to understand you better. I have 5 grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren. I live with my parents, or I've lived in Lagos all my life, or I've lived in Bonny Island all my life, or I grew up in Benin, or my favorite thing is vegetable soup, or I'm really good at PowerPoint. Call me for research. I stay away from Excel sheets, that sort of thing. It removes the conversation from I'm a 55-year-old boomer to I am good at Excel sheets or I hate Excel sheets. There's a humanity behind it. That's one of the ways how you build trust and cohesion. So manual of me is something you can add in your quality team away days. Quality, I put quality in front because we do team away days, but sometimes one of the things that will be helpful is to structure it in the right way to get the best quality out of it, the best pay for your time out of it. If you are, for example, your company is driving a 5-year strategy, as always, your team away days will be touch points in that strategy work to see where you're at and where you need to be, which is fine. But also find time in those team away days for you to have quality conversations where you learn more about each other, your experiences, your challenges, and how you can collaborate to drive things forward. Again, it depends on your size. Some people are 50, organizations are 30 and 50, some people are 500. It might now be better for you to do this on a team level. Some people work in multinationals where what team away day for one team in one country looks like could be different from what team away day in another country and another team looks like. And having a template across could be helpful. Or you as HR sitting down with this team to say, okay, what's the best way? You know yourself, or what's the best way to get you people to work in together? These are the options. How do we structure it to work best for you? So quality team away days are important. I've seen that work life. Part of the work we do with leadership teams is to get them to go away together for 2 days, 3 days, have the conversation, have people tell the CEO, guy, you are not doing well because this your behavior is blocking us. We need to be moving forward. So quality team away days are really helpful. Public appreciation. Public appreciation not only by the CEO, not only by the team lead, across the team. There is something that I believe is progress in leadership is when you start seeing team members doing things and it's no longer just you doing it. When, for example, you have a meeting, usually you are the one that's running the meeting, but in that meeting, before that meeting, somebody raises their hand to say, I would like to run today's meeting. And then tomorrow, you don't even have to ask who is running today's meeting because another person has volunteered. You are seeing a step in the game of the people you are leading. The same thing goes with public appreciation. When you are constantly, you say, oh, thank you, and then you say, you know what, we worked on this project together, BC, I worked on this with you, I'm so thankful for you. And then before the call, you could reach out to BC to say, is there somebody you would like to thank for this project? I'm going to put you on the spot to say thank you to somebody. I hope that's fine. And BC is like, okay, sure. You start seeing it start happening organically without you. They say thank you to each other. You see the messages on Slack, on Teams, or whatever. Shout out to this YZ. Shout out. Somebody has experienced it. Recently did a project, just finished a project. I'm the youngest on my team. I got the most shout out. I was telling them, please give me my flowers. I collect it because this work nearly killed me. And it wasn't just from the top. It was managers, people just one level above me, people in other teams, they also had, they come to say, oh, I heard you did a good job. It was organic. This kind of thing increases trust in other people in you, because even people that have not worked with you, they will hear the story of how this person did this. And so tomorrow when they experience you, they are coming with the good bias that this person knows how to do this. They've not experienced you before. But because they had 2 Eke market days ago that you did so well on this particular project, they are looking forward to working with you. They want you on their project. But they've forgotten that the person they're talking about is 23 years old, or the people that they're talking about is 85 years old. They don't care because they have heard how good you are. Another thing is spot and leverage strengths. You are good at this. I notice you are good at this. Come and help us do this. I notice you are good at this. Come and you say you want to learn this habit. This person knows how to do it. You quickly play on people for their strengths when you come together as a team. Oh, I saw your manual of me the other day. You said you are good at PowerPoint. Please, I need this PowerPoint by Tuesday. Come and help me. That sort of thing. By the time you do that, or again, like public appreciation, word travels faster. Oh, this person is really good at this. In my office, they know, oh, I love research. I'm good at it. They need research work. For many team now, they used to come and look for me. I heard you are good at this. And it has helped also people now respect me. And it has helped me also find respect and value in myself, and also be able to rely on my team more because they are the ones that started the story that Faith is good at research. Training on managing biases and language is also very important. It is important for us to be aware that biases are neither good or bad. It's just how we use them. And so having a training on practicality around where we currently are in our language, how we cannot speak to one another is very important, because there are stereotypes, but there are also experiences of people where they have been spoken rudely to from one person to another, from maybe somebody in a different generation, in a condescending manner, in a rude manner, whatever it may be. This is why one of the reasons why onboarding is so important, which is linked to training. Onboarding is a type of training. When someone is entering the company, what are you telling them? Are you telling them we don't speak to one another like this? And again, it goes back to modeling it via managers. When you tell me at onboarding we don't speak to one another like this, and then 2 days into the job, I'm seeing the CEO do that thing that HR just told me that we don't do here. I'm starting to feel do what I say, not what I do, which is not a healthy culture to have in a work environment. So having training for people, constantly reminding them we don't speak to one another like that. That is not how we treat one another in this office. It don't matter whether you're 100, you're 55, or you're 25, or you're 23. We don't speak to one another like that. How we speak to one another re-emphasizes our trust for one another. And if you do not trust me, if you do not trust me, it will show in your language. If you want to build cohesion, there has to be respect for me in the way you speak to me, regardless of age. Reverse or two-way mentoring. Reverse mentoring is one of the practical ways that a lot of organizations imbibe what's it called? Imbibe practices that help multi-generational workforces come together. So one of the examples we see in the case studies is reverse mentoring by a global law firm that they did in their London office between a British CEO who was in his 50s and then a young Ghanaian girl who had just gotten the company who was in her late 20s. And it works because unlike normal mentoring programs whereby the more experienced person is taking the younger person, teaching them on life and everything, what happens is the more experienced persons come to the conversation to learn from the younger person. Now, I put two-way mentoring because I'm like, you know what, we can all learn from one another. However, if the language around the experiences, I've put the two of you together to learn from one another, there is a different perception people go into that relationship with, which is the more experienced person is coming to learn from the younger person, and the younger person is coming to learn from the more experienced person. That shifts the conversation to I have to offer just as you have to offer. We are here to receive from one another. It creates that curiosity and open-mindedness and ability to learn, relearn, and unlearn that we spoke about before. So this is one of the ways people can do it. If you don't have what's it switched on its own? Okay, great. That means you can see it now.
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, great. Thank you. So sorry for that. So we're talking about reverse mentoring or two-way mentoring. Another thing that will be helpful is learning and development. So some people, as we'll see in the case study, they build learning programs where it's the people in the organization that deliver the learning programs. And so how you structure your L&D to allow people meet one another from different generations, works of life, different life stages would also help you build trust and cohesion. So even beyond the core teams as well, I begin to know somebody who works in marketing who is 5 generations away from me, either older or younger. I begin to know somebody who works in research department who is a different life stage from me. It helps to build that trust and cohesion organization wide, and then on team level wide, it can also be helpful. Um, then the last thing is use of flexible project teams. Now, like I said earlier, some organizations are very, very structured in the sense of a project stays within a particular team for particular reasons. And that's fine. But if your organization can is open to the idea of flexible project team. So first of all, there are different organizational structures. There is the one we know the hierarchical one where everybody sits in their place. There's the matrix one, and then there are some like the one that Google runs, which is some people is more complex, is more confusing, but it's actually very flexible, where they are just small cohorts of people, ecosystems of people that come together, they do work together. When they finish, they disband and they go on to their next project. So if that's something that you can apply in your organization from time to time for specific projects, that will be helpful. But if that's not the case, what you can do is in between the structured team, when a new project comes up, be more particular about pulling people from different walks of life to work on the project. That would expose you to one another and also build trust and cohesion as well. Um, Now, a couple of case studies, this is my last slide for today. A couple of case studies that I've pulled that I found just when I was doing this work is different and what they thought best to apply. So most of these organizations have gone through the process of picking up data, thinking of what to do best, looking at the organization data cohort and thinking of, okay, how do we approach this? And some of them are African. So for example, some of them are African, some of them are UK based or global. EY Foundation is UK based. So EY Foundation, what they do is they help young people get into jobs. Aside from doing get into jobs and get along with their employers. Now, aside from doing that on the organizational, on the consulting level, sort of, they also did it internally, where they did this thing called the Youth Advisory Board. So helping young people bring their opportunities towards across social and generational lines, which is something that I also see as well. Some people help other people set up youth advisory boards, which are sort of like sounding boards for the board senior leadership of the organization to hear younger people, and also vice versa in situations whereby the organizations are have a heavily younger cohort of employees. The LVMH organization, where they linked emerging talent with experienced leaders through cross-generational and innovative work networks. So some organizations that are really large, so for example, JP Morgan is a bank, a global bank, America, UK. One of the things they do, they have network groups. So groups where people come together based on identity, religion, faith, practices, football, whatever. One of the things that they do is also have these multi-generational networks where people from different generations can opt in and decide to mentor or tutor one another. The NSSF board, so that's the National Social, let me just quickly get that. The National Social Security Fund Uganda, one of the employees or the staff realized that there was a bit of the age dynamics in the leadership team was not really where it should be. It was not a reflection of what was happening in the entire organization. And so he did some work to change that. And by the time he was leading, he had transformed the leadership team for the local African organized for the African bank. Then also the I&M Bank Tanzania. So they found that there were some barriers they faced in retaining young staff. So what one of them, a team member did called Erica, was she built in the system whereby you have coffee with the head of HR sessions. So you can just opt in, ask questions, given that younger people have a sense of they want to be able to reach their leadership, have questions, challenge, or even critique leadership. She did that open door where it's kind of like a town hall. So some companies have town hall where the CEO just comes, sits down, and people are able to ask them questions from any walk of life to say, well, I don't like this, I didn't like this, I did that, I didn't do that. One of the energy companies we work with here in UK, they usually have town hall meetings where they just put the leadership team on the spot and people can ask them any sort of question. BMW Group is also another one where they took this one to another level, where they thought of people. So their office in Germany, Munich, Germany, where they thought of people in different life stages, and they thought about the needs they will need for them to work well. Talk about from chairs to laptops, desktops. Because when you start thinking of this working depthly, it's tied to well-being as well, and how some people sort of interact with the architecture in the office. So they decided they needed to redesign their workspaces to better support employees at different life stages. And they had insane technology and things like that. These are things you can see online. And then lastly, Allen and Overy, I found this on a Financial Times article actually, where they paired I think it was the CEO of the global law firm with a young daughter of young Ghanaian immigrants, where she was the one doing the mentorship. And in the article, she's talking about she does not know exactly what exactly she wants to teach this man because he has many, many years of experience. But in their context, it was helpful for him because he's a Caucasian Brit to sort of see the experience of an immigrant, a Black African immigrant of African descent, what the experience is like, and then from the young lens, and also teaching them about things that are coming up in our age and time. And in return, she also, without a doubt, which is one of the reasons why I said it's a two-way mentoring, she got an insight into what management does, the experiences that is had, it taught her to a lot of things, and also introduced her to a lot of people. So that's one of the some of the practices that people and organizations can apply in their companies. But based on your data, when you look at your data, what does our organization need? Given what we have seen, what's the best approach? Do we do it at the team level, organization wide level? What exactly is the problem we're trying to solve? Different problems call for different solutions. So one place you will need to start from is your data. When you look at your data and you see, okay, this is what we need, you can now start implementing from there. So thank you very much. I am going to take, if anyone has any questions, I'm going to take questions now.
Thank you so much, Faith. This has been very exciting and energetic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's appreciate her. Let's show her with emoticons, emojis, how we are so glad she did this session. Meanwhile, if you have any quick questions or quick contributions, if you raise your hands, we'll recognize you. Take a few, 2, 3, and we call it a wrap. You can see, Faith, that we've been tremendously blessed. Your faith has made us good.
I hope not. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Anybody wants to say something, ask a question or a comment, an experience quickly? Uncle K, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Mine is not a question per se.
Yes.
I've listened to Faith. She has done justice extremely well to it. Faith, you have something really good for you. I love the choice of words you've been using. Very apt, very direct, not ambiguous. You have been very, very clear. You know, this is very good. I really love it. Thank you for this presentation. Fantastic. Thank you,
Oh,
Doctor.
thank
Thank
you
you
very
so much.
much. Thank you very much.
Take the final comment or question or whatever from my brother, Daramola Adepiton. You have the floor, please.
All right, good evening. Good
Good
evening,
evening,
sir.
sir.
Good evening, Faith. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this lecture. I'm new in this platform, and it was a friend of mine that actually sent me the link. I don't know if there can be a WhatsApp group that I can actually join so that I
Okay,
can
we'll take
also.
that offline. We'll take
Okay,
that offline. I'm
right,
already dropping my phone number. Chat me immediately after now or right now.
right,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right,
I've dropped my
thanks.
phone number. Okay. Faith, if you also want to drop your phone number on the chat group in case anybody wants to reach out to you for any reason, you can also drop it in the chat box.
Sure. Let me just drop it.
Meanwhile, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, please let's unmute and let's appreciate our facilitator for tonight.
Faith, I totally loved your session, calm,
Thank you.
composed, very lovely. Thank you. I hope you come again.
Thank you,
Thank
Faith.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much,
Thank you, Faith.
Faith.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you,
Faith.
Thank you,
Faith.
Faith.
Thank
Faith
you
is
so
all
much.
over the world, though. Somebody's asking if you're in Abuja or Lagos. She's global. Kenya, Egypt, Mauritius, then Uncle Donald Trump, India, anywhere you need her. Projects anywhere in the world.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Luyebi. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Cheers.